the parable of the lost son. But for the sake of those who have never heard it, those who maybe dozed off just now while we were reading it, those of you that allowed your minds to drift off into Never Never Land, allow me to reiterate it here for you. So here we are in the 15th chapter of Luke, and we have the religious folks of Christ's day. They were running off at the mouth as usual. They were running off at the mouth and they were gossiping as many of us do because they saw Jesus eating and having conversation with sinners. They saw Jesus eating and having conversation with the sinners and they said, look at him. And so Jesus decided that he wanted to try to explain to them why he was doing what he do. So Jesus used the example. He said, look here. If you have 100 sheep and one of them go astray, do you not leave the 99 to go and find that lost one and bring it back home? And when you find it, you celebrate. You tell all your friends to come over. I found my lost sheep. They still looked a little puzzled. So Jesus said, well, look here. If a woman has 10 pieces of silver and she loses one of them, does she not turn on every light in the house and sweep the entire house till she finds that lost piece of jewelry? They still looked a little puzzled. So Jesus said, look, let me try to break it down for y'all a little bit more. So that's when he began this particular parable. He decided he wanted to try to tell them a parable or this story. He said, look here. He told them the story about this rich man who had 2 sons. That's what we just read. One son said, Daddy, I want everything that I have. I want my share of your inheritance, because he knew he had something coming to him. Give me my share of your inheritance right now before you die. Dad said, okay. Gave it to him. And Jesus says that the young man went to a far place, spent all his money on drugs, hookers, whatever. Money ran out. A famine came. All of a sudden, all them friends that he had are gone. All those people who would buy him when he had all that money to spend, they're gone. Now here he is with no money. He has to find a job. It's hard to take care of the pigs. Still nobody would take care of him. No food. Starving. So hungry that the slop that he was feeding the pigs looked good to him. The slop that he was feeding the pigs looked good to him. But then he came to his senses. He remembered what he left back at home. He remembered what he was entitled to. And he said to himself, he said, look, here I am starving when my father has workers that are eating and living better than I am. But I'm out here starving. And that's the story of where we are in our text today. You don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you have found yourself being that lost or wayward child? You found yourself being that lost child. You found yourself at a point in life where you just knew you were grown. And because you're grown, you're going to do whatever you wanted to do. You're going to do everything that you were big and bad enough to do. You get to a point in your life, as my grandma used to say, you start to smell yourself. You did everything that you wanted to do. You weren't concerned anymore. And so the Bible says that a few days after getting his inheritance, this boy packed up his things and moved far away from home. Took all his stuff with him. Now, I like to say that his daddy was good, because I tell mine, if you leave, you take none except what you came in here with. You decide you want to leave home, then you go ahead and you take everything that you came with, which was nothing. Everything that you have, I bought. So his daddy was good because he allowed him to take everything. And church, if you haven't figured it out yet, the father in this parable represents God. He represents God the Father. And the purpose of this parable is for us to compare this young man's past and the decisions that he chose to make in his life. His relationship with his father and our personal lives and our relationship with God the Father. Understand, beloved, that many of us have grown up in a good home. Many of us have grown up